There's a strange tenderness in the way the universe teaches us. It doesn't always whisper. Sometimes it shakes us. Sometimes it strips us bare until we are standing in the ruins of what once made us feel safe. You might wonder, why does everything I love eventually drift away? The answer is not cruelty, it is divine choreography. The universe forces us to let go because growth requires space. The hands that cling cannot receive. The heart that won't release cannot heal. Every ending that broke you was a silent invitation to begin again, stronger, clearer, freer. Stay with me through these words, because before this is over, you will see that what you lost was never punishment. It was preparation. You will understand that letting go is not weakness, it is alignment. And in that surrender, you will meet the truest version of yourself. There comes a time when life demands that you unclench your grip on what you thought you needed. It might come quietly at first, like a whisper in the night, a feeling that something no longer fits, a sense that what once brought joy now only brings confusion. You ignore it, hoping it's temporary, but the universe has a way of persisting. It begins to tug, to rearrange, to shift the ground beneath your feet until you can no longer stand where you were. And when the pull becomes too strong, you realize this truth. The universe moves through release. Everything that lives must move, and everything that moves must change form. The trees know this, the ocean knows this. Even the stars, as ancient as they are, eventually burn out to make room for new light. But somehow, as human beings, we believe we can hold stillness forever. We clutch memories, relationships, identities, and dreams that have long expired, hoping they will bloom again if only we water them with enough longing. Yet the universe does not grow gardens in places meant to return to dust. It does not allow what has ended to remain alive just to satisfy our sense of comfort. It pulls away what no longer serves the soul, even if the heart protests. The movement of release is not a punishment, it is a sacred rhythm. The tide does not apologize when it recedes, and the wind does not seek permission to change direction. So when life begins to strip away what you love, remember, it is not chaos. It is choreography. There is purpose in the unraveling. Every ending is simply the universe exhaling, making space for what must arrive next. You may not see it yet, but loss is the language of transformation. Still, letting go feels like betrayal. You think of how much you gave, how deeply you cared, and how unfair it seems that something once so full could end in emptiness. But what you call emptiness is not absence. It is the clearing. It is the soft soil after the fire, ready for new seeds. What feels like being torn apart is often the divine hand rearranging the pieces of your life into a new order. There is mercy in the breaking, even when it hurts. If you look closely at nature, you'll see the truth everywhere. The leaves do not cling to the tree when the season changes. They let go and drift into the air, trusting the ground to receive them. The river does not hold its water in fear of drought. It flows freely toward the unknown. Every part of existence trusts the process of movement, except us. We fight it. We name it loss, tragedy, or failure. But the universe calls it evolution. Sometimes you are not being punished. You are being prepared. The relationship that ended was clearing the way for love that aligns with your purpose. The job that vanished was pushing you toward your calling. The silence that replaced someone's voice was making room for your own to rise. Life doesn't take without reason. It shifts so you can be positioned for what you were born to become. The universe cannot move through a life that resists change. But there's something sacred about the moment you finally surrender. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's the night you stop begging for answers and whisper, "I trust." It's the morning you wake up and realize that peace has replaced your pain, not because you found closure, but because you stopped chasing it. When you let go, life flows back into you. You stop trying to fix what was never broken. You were simply outgrowing it. To release is to align. When you cling, you live from fear, the fear that nothing as good will ever come again. But when you let go, you live from faith, the faith that what is meant for you will always find its way. The universe rewards the open hand. It pours blessings into the lives of those who dare to trust the unseen. You become lighter, freer, more alive. The very act of surrender becomes an offering, and in return, life gives you more than you ever imagined. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you honor what was by allowing it to complete its purpose. You can love someone and still release them. You can cherish a season and still step into the next one. You can remember the beauty without resurrecting the pain. When you release with grace, you tell the universe, I am ready to be moved, and it will move you, always toward expansion, never toward diminishment. You see, the universe speaks in patterns. It will keep taking from you until you understand the art of flow. It will keep sending storms until you learn to stop building shelter where you were meant to build wings. And once you learn to trust this movement, peace replaces resistance. You stop asking, why me, and begin saying, thank you, because you realize that every loss was a gift disguised as grief. Every detour was a redirection toward alignment. We live in a world that glorifies holding on, and to people, possessions, plans, even pain. But true strength is not in holding tighter. It is in releasing sooner. It is in knowing when something's season has passed and bowing to that truth with humility. The most powerful souls are not the ones who control life, but the ones who allow life to move through them like wind through the trees. And when you master the art of release, life starts to flow effortlessly. Opportunities appear where there was once emptiness. Joy returns in unexpected ways. You start to understand that nothing real can ever be lost. It can only transform. What is meant for you is magnetized by your surrender, not your struggle. The universe does not move through resistance. It moves through trust. So when the world around you begins to shift, don't panic. Don't chase what is leaving. Don't beg what's falling away to stay. Instead, stand still and breathe. Let the tide take what it must. Let the wind carry what no longer belongs. Trust that the current knows where it's going and that it's leading you home, because the universe always moves through release. It does not cling to the past. It flows into the future. And so must you. Pain has a voice, though most spend their lives trying not to hear it. It speaks in the silence after something precious has ended. It whispers through the heaviness in your chest when you wake up and realize life is no longer what it was yesterday. It echoes in the quiet spaces of your soul when the laughter fades, the crowd disappears, and you are left alone with the truth. Pain is not the enemy. It is the messenger, the divine translator between what was and what is yet to come. It speaks a language the soul understands, though the mind resists it with all its might. When life begins to shift, pain often walks in first. It does not knock politely. It storms in, rearranging the furniture of your heart, breaking what was fragile, revealing what was hidden. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to move you, to remind you that you have stayed too long in places that no longer nourish your spirit. The job that drains you, the relationship that suffocates you, the habits that dull your light. Pain shows up when you ignore the whispers of change. It becomes louder until you listen. It becomes unbearable until you move. You may wonder why growth must hurt, why the heart must crack open before the light can pour in. The reason is simple. Transformation demands surrender. You cannot evolve and remain the same. Something old must die for something new to be born. Pain is the fire that purifies the soul, burning away illusion, pride, and fear until only truth remains. It asks you to sit in the discomfort, to stop running, to face what is real. It doesn't want your despair, it wants your awakening. Most people see pain as punishment. They think they have done something wrong. But the universe does not deal in cruelty, it deals in correction. When you drift away from your purpose, it sends waves to push you back. When you hide from your calling, it uses pain to light the path home. Pain doesn't arrive to shame you, it arrives to shake you awake. It doesn't come to break your heart, but to expand it. Think about the caterpillar wrapped in its cocoon. It struggles, trapped in darkness, feeling the weight of transformation pressing from all sides. If you were to open the cocoon too soon, to rescue it from its pain, you would kill the butterfly before it could fly. The struggle is not punishment, it is preparation. Pain stretches the wings of the soul so it can rise into new heights. Every ache is an invitation to become more than you were before. But we resist it. We numb ourselves, distract ourselves, pretend we're fine. We fill our lives with noise so we don't have to hear the cries within us. Yet pain is patient. It waits until you are ready to listen. It will keep returning in different forms, through heartbreak, loss, failure, or loneliness, until its message is heard. And the message is always the same. You are changing. Let it happen. There is a strange beauty in that realization. When you stop fighting the pain and start asking it what it came to teach you, everything shifts. You begin to see that pain was never the villain. It was the guide. It was the map leading you back to yourself. You learn that the ache in your chest is not emptiness, but space being made for something greater. You discover that grief is love with nowhere to go, waiting for a new direction. Some of the most beautiful souls on this earth have been shaped by pain. They are gentle not because life has spared them, but because they have learned compassion through suffering. They have been broken enough times to know the strength it takes to stand again. Their words carry weight because they have been spoken through tears. Their laughter is deeper because they have known silence. Pain refines character in ways comfort never can. It humbles you, softens you, teaches you to see the world through eyes of grace. You might not realize it now, but one day you will look back and understand that the pain you once cursed was the very thing that transformed you. It stripped away the false parts of your life, the people who couldn't stay, the dreams that weren't aligned, the illusions that held you captive. It made you stronger, yes, but more importantly, it made you real. It brought you face to face with your soul, and in that confrontation, you found your power. There will be days when the pain feels endless, when it feels like your heart is being torn apart piece by piece, when you question if you will ever smile again. But even in that darkness, something holy is taking place. The breaking is not the end, it's the beginning. The wound is the place where the light enters, and from that light, a new version of you begins to emerge. You don't have to rush it. Healing takes time, but know this: every tear you shed is watering the soil of your becoming. Pain teaches patience. It teaches empathy. It teaches faith. You learn to trust in what you cannot see, to believe in what you cannot yet understand. You begin to see life not as a series of accidents, but as a divine unfolding. You start to realize that even your suffering had purpose, that it shaped you into someone who can now help others heal. Pain turns victims into teachers, and scars into stories that light the way for those still lost in the dark. You see, the universe uses pain to get your attention because love alone is too gentle to move you when you are stuck. It shakes you so you can awaken. It takes what is unstable and makes it solid. It removes what is temporary so you can find what is eternal. And once the lesson is learned, the pain no longer needs to stay. It releases you as quietly as it arrived, leaving behind wisdom where there was once only hurt. So when you find yourself in a season of pain, don't curse it. Don't rush to escape it. Sit with it. Ask it what it came to show you. Let it refine you instead of define you. Let it peel away the layers that no longer serve who you are becoming. Because beneath the ache, beneath the sorrow, beneath the confusion, something magnificent is taking shape. Pain is not your enemy. It is the sacred translator of growth, the bridge between your old self and your awakening. It is the language of transition, spoken fluently by every soul that has ever been reborn. Listen to it, honor it, let it move you forward. For one day, when you stand in the light of peace, you will look back and realize that the pain was not just part of your journey. It was the voice of the universe guiding you home. There comes a point in every life when something you thought you couldn't live without is taken away. It could be a person, a title, a home, a dream you built with trembling hands. When it disappears, the world feels hollow. You stand in the ruins of what once gave you identity and whisper, "Who am I now?" That question, though painful, is sacred, because in the asking, the soul begins to awaken. You start to see that what you lost was never your essence. It was a chapter, not the whole story. The universe removes what is temporary so you can discover what is eternal. You see, we are raised to measure ourselves by what we have. The world teaches us to define our worth through achievement, through approval, through the reflection of others. We become attached to roles, the successful one, the loved one, the dependable one, the strong one. And when those roles are stripped away, panic rises. We think we have failed, that we are less than we were before. But the truth is, the loss is not an ending. It is a revelation. What you lose is never who you are. It only reveals who you have been pretending to be. When the universe begins to take away the masks, it can feel cruel. You might find yourself alone after years of giving everything to someone who walked away. You might lose a job that once defined your purpose. You might see your plans crumble in a single moment. In those seasons, grief visits like an old friend. It sits beside you, uninvited but persistent, reminding you that life will never be the same. And yet, beneath that grief, something deeper stirs. Truth. It whispers, you were never just that relationship. You were never just that title. You were never just what you produced or who you pleased. You are something far greater, something no loss can touch. It takes time to believe that. At first, you cling to the fragments of what was. You replay the memories, trying to rebuild the old identity piece by piece. But nothing fits anymore. The more you try to restore the past, the more it dissolves. That is the universe's mercy. It doesn't allow you to remain imprisoned by what has expired. It loves you too much to let you settle for a smaller version of yourself. The dismantling of your life is not destruction. It is divine surgery. It is removing what has grown over your truth so that your soul can breathe again. Imagine a diamond buried deep within stone. The cutting and shaping process looks violent, but it is necessary. Without it, the light cannot pass through. You too are being refined. Every loss chisels away the layers of false identity. The person who needed validation, the one who chased perfection, the one who believed love had to be earned, all of them fall away. And what remains is pure. What remains is real. You begin to see yourself not through the lens of what you do, but through the lens of what you are. Infinite, unbreakable, divine. When you lose something or someone, your instinct is to grasp at the familiar. You look for the reflection that once told you who you were, but when it's gone, you are left with yourself. That moment, though terrifying, is holy, because in that stillness, you finally meet the real you, the one that doesn't need to be chosen to know she is worthy, the one that doesn't need applause to know she is enough. You realize that everything external can vanish, but your essence remains untouched, radiant beneath the ashes of what fell apart. Loss teaches you the difference between attachment and identity. You are not your possessions, your successes, or your relationships. You are not the version of yourself that others remember. You are the consciousness beneath it all, the one who watches the seasons change, the one who endures even after everything has shifted. The soul doesn't disappear when things fall apart. It expands. Every ending reveals the indestructible truth. You were whole long before anything or anyone arrived to complete you. There is freedom in that realization. You stop chasing validation because you understand you were never meant to be defined by the shifting opinions of others. You stop mourning what left because you recognize it had to go so that you could rise. You begin to live not from fear, but from faith. Faith that your worth was never tied to what could be taken. The love that left, the dream that faded, the image that broke, none of it could touch your real self. What you lose belongs to time. Who you are belongs to eternity. In the aftermath of loss, there will be moments when you feel empty, like a house with no furniture. But emptiness is not the enemy, it is the invitation. It is space waiting to be filled with something truer, purer, more aligned with your purpose. The old identity has been cleared away to make room for authenticity. You are no longer living as a reflection of expectations. You are living as your own creation, and as you rebuild, you begin to thank what left. You understand that without the loss, you would have remained asleep in the comfort of illusion. You would have mistaken stability for peace and attention for love. Now you know the difference. You have learned to find peace in stillness and love in your own breath. That is the gift of loss. It returns you to yourself. Think of how many times you've thought, I can't survive this. Yet here you are, wiser, softer, stronger. The job you lost didn't end your purpose. It redirected it. The person who walked away didn't take your love. They simply showed you how deep your heart could go. The dream that died didn't destroy you. It cleared the path for something greater to emerge. Every time something left, it made space for something truer to arrive. The truth is, nothing real can ever be lost. The love that was genuine still lives within you. The lessons still shape you. The energy of what was once yours returns in new forms, in new opportunities, new faces, new beginnings. The universe never subtracts without adding back in greater measure. The only thing that truly disappears is illusion. So when life takes something from you, don't collapse into despair. Don't mistake the removal for rejection. It is redirection. It is the universe reminding you that your identity is eternal, not conditional. You are the sky, not the storm. You are the ocean, not the wave that just broke. Everything external is temporary. What you are is everlasting. In time, you will understand that loss did not diminish you. It revealed you. It peeled back the layers of who you thought you had to be until only your essence remained. And that essence, that unshakable core within you, is untouched by endings. It does not die. It does not fade. It simply continues to rise, more radiant each time something falls away. When you finally grasp this truth, peace returns. You stop fighting the flow of life. You stop mourning what was and start celebrating what is. You realize that every ending was an act of love, every loss a step toward remembrance. And when you stand in that light, you no longer fear change. You welcome it because you know what you lose is not who you are. What you truly are can never be lost. There is a quiet kind of suffering that hides beneath the surface of strength, the suffering of holding on when life is asking you to let go. We often mistake endurance for loyalty, thinking that if we just hold tighter, love harder, try longer, things will somehow return to the way they once were. But the truth is, nothing in this universe stays the same. Everything moves, everything evolves, and everything eventually asks to be released. The moment you resist that truth, suffering begins. Holding on is not always an act of courage. Sometimes it is an act of fear disguised as devotion. We hold on because we are afraid of the unknown, afraid of the silence that follows endings, afraid of the emptiness that waits when something familiar disappears. The human heart clings to what it understands, even when what it understands is slowly breaking it. We call it love, but sometimes it's attachment. We call it faith, but sometimes it's resistance. The hands that refuse to open eventually ache from the effort. The heart that refuses to release becomes heavy from the weight. Pain doesn't always come from what life takes away. Sometimes it comes from what we refuse to let go of. The hardest truth to accept is that not everything and everyone is meant to stay. Some people come to awaken you, not accompany you. Some dreams bloom only for a season. Some paths are meant to end so others can begin. Yet we keep forcing the doors that are closing, begging life to keep what was never meant to be permanent. We pour our energy into resuscitating what the universe has already declared complete. And in doing so, we exhaust the very soul that was designed to soar. There's a difference between persistence and attachment. Persistence moves with purpose. Attachment stands in fear. When you persist toward growth, you align with the flow of life. When you attach to what is fading, you stand in the way of your own evolution. You suffer not because life is cruel, but because you resist its natural rhythm. The river never apologizes for moving forward. It knows stagnation means death. The trees never beg the leaves to stay. They understand that falling is part of becoming. Nature does not suffer from release. Only humans do, because we confuse endings with loss instead of seeing them as sacred transitions. Holding on becomes a prison built from memory. You replay the good moments, the laughter, the warmth, the days when things made sense. You convince yourself that if you just try harder, those moments will return. But what you are chasing no longer exists. It lives in time, not in truth. The version of the person, the job, the dream, or even yourself that you're clinging to has already transformed. Life moves in cycles, and every cycle must complete itself. To fight that movement is to choose suffering over peace. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to let go, not because you've stopped caring, but because you finally care enough about your own peace to stop bleeding for what refuses to heal. You begin to realize that letting go is not betrayal, it's honesty. It's recognizing that staying attached to what's gone keeps you small. It keeps you from discovering the freedom that only surrender can bring. When you release, you make space for grace to enter. But letting go is not easy. It asks for faith. Faith that something better will come. Faith that emptiness is not the end, but the beginning of expansion. It asks you to walk through the valley without knowing where the path leads. It asks you to trust the unseen hands of the universe. Most people never find peace because they want control more than freedom. They want certainty more than truth. Yet life will keep breaking your grip until you understand that what is meant for you will never require you to cling in desperation. Suffering is not in the loss itself. It is in the attachment to how things should have been. We replay the story, editing it in our minds, wishing we could rewrite the ending. But what's done is done. The lesson is not in changing the past, but in understanding what it came to teach you. Holding on keeps you trapped in yesterday's classroom while the world moves on to new lessons. Release and you return to the present moment, the only place where healing truly happens. You may feel that letting go will break you, but the truth is, holding on already has. Each time you cling to what's gone, you tear yourself away from the life waiting to unfold. You shrink your spirit trying to fit into places that can no longer hold your growth. That's why it hurts. Not because you're losing something essential, but because your soul is expanding and the walls you've built around it are too small. The pain you feel is not punishment, it's pressure. The pressure to evolve. The moment you surrender, something shifts. The tension in your chest loosens. The tears that once fell in grief now fall in gratitude. You start to breathe again, not shallow and frantic, but deeply, freely. You realize the world didn't end. It simply rearranged itself to match your truth. You see how much energy you spent trying to control the uncontrollable and how peace was waiting the whole time just on the other side of release. To hold on is to live in illusion. To let go is to return to reality. The illusion says, I can't live without this. The truth says, I already am. The illusion says, this defines me. The truth says, nothing external can define what is eternal. When you let go, you don't lose, you align. You step into the flow where everything that belongs to you naturally arrives. You don't chase love, it meets you. You don't force opportunities, they unfold. The energy of release is magnetic. It draws to you what is truly meant for you because your hands are finally open to receive. There is a sacredness in surrender. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop trying. It means you stop fighting the natural current of life. You stop demanding that things stay the same when their purpose has already been fulfilled. You begin to live with trust. Trust in divine timing. Trust in the unfolding. Trust that what leaves your life is making space for something better. When you finally let go, peace doesn't arrive with trumpets or fireworks. It comes quietly, like dawn. You wake one morning and realize you are no longer chasing ghosts. The memories still exist, but they no longer control you. The love remains, but it no longer binds you. You feel light, open, ready. You have learned the truth that so few understand, that holding on creates suffering, but release creates freedom. And that freedom is where life begins again. Letting go is not an act of weakness. It is an act of sacred trust. It is the soul's way of saying, I believe that life knows what I need better than I do. Yet this is one of the hardest lessons we ever learn, to trust the unseen, to release control, to surrender what we once prayed for. The human heart wants certainty, but the universe operates in mystery. And that mystery often asks you to open your hands while they are still trembling. It asks you to say goodbye while the echo of what you love still lingers in the air. It asks you to believe in timing that makes no sense, in endings that arrive too soon, in paths that disappear beneath your feet. Letting go is not about giving up. It is about giving over to something wiser, higher, and infinitely more loving than our limited understanding. There will come moments when everything in you resists release, when the memories are too loud, when the dreams still feel alive, when your heart insists that what is leaving should have stayed. But the universe doesn't take without reason. It doesn't remove because you are unworthy. It removes because you are ready. It knows the rhythm of your becoming better than you do. What feels like loss is often divine redirection, the gentle but firm guidance of life saying, this chapter has served its purpose, now it is time for another. To trust this process is to walk blindfolded into grace. It is to step forward without needing to see the whole path. When you let go, you are not falling into emptiness. You are falling into the hands of the divine. Every ending you experience carries the fingerprints of wisdom you cannot yet see. The friend who left, the opportunity that slipped away, the dream that fell apart, they were not mistakes. They were messengers. They came to teach, to awaken, and then to move aside so that new blessings could enter. Letting go means you trust that there is intelligence woven into every thread of your story. You stop asking why and start whispering thank you. You stop clinging to what's collapsing and start believing that even in the collapse, something beautiful is being built. The universe is not random, it is precise. It will never take without the promise of return. Every door that closes shifts the energy toward another that is about to open. But you cannot step through the new door while your hands are still locked on the old one. Trust is not easy because it asks for surrender before understanding. It asks you to loosen your grip when you still want answers. But answers don't come in clinging, they come in stillness. When you finally release the need to know, space is made for peace to enter. The mind may panic, but the soul exhales. You realize you were never in control. You were only ever in partnership with life. And life, in its infinite wisdom, is always moving toward your highest good, even when it looks like loss. Letting go is sacred because it means you are aligning with that divine partnership. You are saying, I will trust the hands that built the stars to guide me through the dark. You are choosing faith over fear, movement over stagnation, growth over comfort. It is an act of reverence, reverence for the flow of life, reverence for your own unfolding, reverence for the mysterious grace that works in silence. There is a tenderness in this kind of surrender. It does not demand, it listens. It does not chase, it allows. It does not resist what leaves, it blesses it on its way. When you release something in trust, you are not closing your heart. You are expanding it. You are making space for what is truly meant for you. And what is meant for you will never require force. It will come with ease, peace, and recognition. It will feel like the sun after a long winter, familiar and new at the same time. The mind often confuses letting go with losing, but loss and release are not the same. Loss says something is gone forever. Release says, I free what was never mine to keep. Everything that belongs to your soul will circle back, not in the same form, but in the same essence. Love that is true doesn't vanish, it transforms. Opportunities that align don't disappear. They return when you are ready. Letting go doesn't close the door to blessings. It opens the gate to miracles. Trust requires patience. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when you wonder if you made a mistake, when silence feels unbearable. But remember, the space between what was and what will be is holy ground. That is where faith grows. That is where you are taught to listen to your inner knowing, to rely not on sight, but on the whisper of intuition that says, keep walking. Something beautiful is waiting ahead. Every time you let go, you strengthen your spiritual muscles. You learn to stand in uncertainty without crumbling. You learn that you can survive endings and still be whole. You begin to see that the divine never abandons, it rearranges. Life removes what no longer aligns, not to punish you, but to protect you from lesser versions of yourself. You may not understand it in the moment, but one day you will look back and see the perfection in every delay, every departure, every detour. Letting go also teaches you humility. It reminds you that no matter how much you love, you cannot control the tides of destiny. You can give, you can nurture, you can hope, but you cannot hold what life has decided to move. When you finally accept this truth, you find peace not in control, but in surrender. You learn that letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you care enough to allow freedom for yourself and for others. The soul thrives in freedom. The more you let go, the more life flows through you. You stop grasping at what is fading and start dancing with what is unfolding. You become a vessel instead of a cage. You realize that trust is not something you build. It is something you return to. You were born trusting. Watch a child. They don't question whether the sun will rise. They don't worry if they are loved. They live in a natural rhythm of faith. Letting go is not learning something new. It is remembering what your soul has always known, that you are held, guided, and protected, even when everything around you shifts. When you live in this kind of trust, fear loses its power. You no longer rush to fill the empty spaces, you honor them. You no longer beg for what left, you bless it. You no longer cling to what's uncertain, you rest in what's eternal. You understand that the divine is not outside of you, directing your life from afar. It is within you, breathing through your choices, moving through your surrender, guiding you home one release at a time. In this understanding, letting go becomes holy. It becomes a prayer, a way of saying, I trust the timing of my life. I trust the wisdom of my path. I trust that what is meant for me cannot pass me by. It becomes not a wound, but a gateway, not an end, but a continuation. For every time you let go, you come closer to truth. Every time you surrender, you fall deeper into love, not the fleeting kind tied to outcome, but the eternal kind that lives in trust. Letting go is a sacred trust, the purest form of faith. It is the heart's quiet declaration that life, even in its mystery, is kind. That even in endings, there is love. That even in loss, there is grace. And that when you release what is not yours, what is yours will always find its way home. The universe cannot fill a closed hand. It cannot pour blessings into a grip that refuses to open. Life flows like water, generous, abundant, ever moving. But it cannot enter where fear has built walls. When you clench too tightly to what you have, whether it's a relationship, a dream, or an identity, you block the stream of abundance that wants to move through you. Holding on may feel like safety, but it is in truth resistance. The open hand says, I trust that what is mine will stay, and what leaves will make room for what's next. The closed hand says, I am afraid to lose. And fear is the greatest barrier between you and the life waiting to unfold. Many people spend their lives praying for change while holding on to what needs to be released. They ask for growth but cling to comfort. They ask for love but grip control. They ask for freedom while clutching the chains of familiarity. The universe listens not to words but to energy. It cannot bring you new blessings when your spirit still clings to the old. You may say you want to rise, but the weight of your attachments keeps you grounded. You may say you want peace, but you keep returning to chaos that feels familiar. To receive, you must release. To expand, you must first make space. The universe works through flow. Give and take, inhale and exhale, rise and fall. Nothing in nature hoards. The tree doesn't cling to its leaves in autumn. The river doesn't resist the stones it must flow around. The ocean doesn't refuse the tide. Everything trusts the rhythm of release. Yet humans, out of fear, try to hold the seasons still. We try to grasp time, people, moments, and outcomes as if our grip could make them eternal. But life, in its wisdom, keeps reminding us, only open hands can receive what's next. Only an unburdened heart can carry new light. When your hands are full of yesterday, tomorrow cannot place its gifts upon your palms. You must learn to let the old fall away. Every time you unclench, you declare to the universe, I am ready. Ready for love that honors you. Ready for dreams that match your growth. Ready for opportunities that meet your soul, not your fear. It is not the strength of your grasp that brings miracles. It is the courage of your release. The more you trust life to fill your open hand, the more you realize that abundance has never left. It was only waiting for space. We often mistake control for security. We believe that by holding tight, we protect what we love. But control is a fragile illusion. You cannot keep someone who is meant to go, nor can you lose someone who is meant to stay. You cannot preserve a moment by clutching it, nor can you delay growth by resisting it. The closed hand trembles because it knows deep down that it cannot hold back the flow of life. No matter how tightly you grip, what is meant to move will move. What is meant to come will come, not through force, but through faith. Opening your hand is an act of sacred trust. It is not about giving up. It is about giving over, surrendering your illusion of control to the wisdom of the divine. When you open your hand, you say, I am willing to be guided. I am willing to receive. And in that moment, life rushes in. Blessings that were waiting on the edge begin to move toward you. Ideas flow more freely. Love becomes effortless. You begin to feel that everything is happening for you, not to you. Because the open hand is not just a gesture, it is a posture of the soul. Sometimes the universe empties your hands so it can place something far greater within them. You may feel loss when something leaves, but loss is only the echo of release. It is the sound of space being created. That job that ended, that friendship that faded, that dream that dissolved, they did not vanish. They created room. You cannot hold the old version of yourself and become who you are destined to be. So when life removes, it is not punishing you, it is preparing you. The empty hand is not a symbol of lack, it is a sign of readiness. You may ask, why does it hurt so much to let go? Because the human heart loves deeply, even when it's time to move on. The pain is not punishment, it's purification. It cleanses the hand so it can receive with innocence again. The universe knows that only a heart that has learned to release can love without fear. It knows that only an open hand can hold lightly, not desperately. You are being taught not just how to receive, but how to receive with grace. Imagine your life as a sacred exchange. Each release a giving, each blessing a return. When you hold tightly to one thing, you stop the exchange. The energy becomes stagnant. But when you open, you invite motion, circulation, renewal. Just as you must exhale to inhale again, you must let go to live again. Everything that grows, grows because it allows change. The flower must release the bud to bloom. The sky must release the day to welcome night. And you too must release what no longer fits to make room for what your soul now needs. Trust that the universe does not take what is meant for you. It may delay, reshape, or redirect, but it will never deny what aligns with your soul. If something slips away, it is either because it has completed its purpose or because it was never yours to begin with. You may not understand the timing, but life is not random. It is always balancing, always rearranging, always moving toward harmony. And harmony can only exist in flow. When you keep your hand closed, fear whispers. If you open it, everything will fall apart. But truth responds. If you open it, everything will fall into place. The difference between the two is trust. The more you trust, the more open you become. And the more open you are, the more easily the universe can work through you. You stop forcing, you stop begging, you stop chasing, and life begins to meet you halfway. Your closed hand represents resistance. Your open hand represents faith. The more you open, the more you realize that abundance was never external. It was always within you, waiting to be expressed. When you finally release, you don't lose anything real. You simply make room for what belongs to you. You begin to live not from fear of lack, but from the truth of fullness. You begin to understand that nothing meant for you can be withheld, and nothing withheld was meant for you. And so, when the universe asks you to open your hand, do not be afraid. Do not mourn the emptiness that follows. That emptiness is holy. It is the sacred pause before the new blessing arrives. The open hand is an altar where miracles land. It is the quiet invitation that says, I am ready to receive, I am ready to trust, I am ready to begin again. And when you live from that place, open, trusting, willing, you discover that the universe has always been generous. It was never a question of whether life would give. It was only a question of whether you would open your hand. You were never losing, you were becoming. Every ending, every heartbreak, every closed door was not a punishment, but a passage. You were not being stripped away to be made smaller. You were being refined to become truer. Life has a way of taking from us what we think we cannot live without, only to show us that we were never meant to live within it forever. The things that fell apart were not the end of your story. They were the fire that forged you into who you were always meant to be. There are moments when loss feels like the final word, when silence echoes louder than any answer you prayed for. You question everything, your worth, your choices, your purpose. You ask why things you held so dearly slipped through your fingers like sand. But in those moments when all seems shattered, life is whispering, this is not your undoing, this is your becoming. The soul cannot grow in safety. It grows in the wild terrain of uncertainty, in the storms that strip away all that is false so the truth can breathe. You see, you were never meant to stay the same. The universe is not interested in your comfort. It is committed to your evolution. Growth is often disguised as loss because it must remove what cannot come with you. The relationship that ended, the dream that dissolved, the plan that failed, they were chapters, not your whole book. They shaped you, taught you, awakened you. And when their lessons were complete, they began to fade. The pain you felt was not a signal that something had gone wrong. It was a sign that something deeper was being born. When you lose, what actually dies is the illusion of permanence. You begin to realize that nothing in this world was ever truly yours. Not the titles, not the people, not even the versions of yourself you once adored. Everything is borrowed, meant to serve a purpose in your becoming. When that purpose is fulfilled, life reclaims what it lent, leaving you not empty, but open. What looks like loss is often liberation. You are not being abandoned, you are being released into your next evolution. Think of the caterpillar. To the outside eye, the cocoon looks like a tomb, silent, dark, constricting. But inside, a transformation is underway. The creature is dissolving into something